Hello, and welcome back. We are going to pick up right where we left off, talking about how to grow your self confidence, how to grow that belief in yourself, and that inner confidence in yourself. So, the next point that I want to share with you is something tangible that you can do to help you with this is to reflect back and often on what you've already done. There's tons of fun ways that you can do this. One is having a journal. I have a journal that's specifically only for my business journey. So I started it in the beginning, and it has every client that I've ever, you know, booked since then. It has all these milestones of when I got my first business card or when I launched my website or, just all of the celebrations along the way. That helps me to look back and be able to say, wow, look at what I've already done. It helps you to grow in that confidence of what you're capable of. When you can see how far you've come, what you've already done, how many difficult things you've already done, how many difficult things you've already accomplished, gotten through. Okay, so you can have one specifically for your business. You can have a journal just in general that you can use to reflect back on all of the things that you've already done, that you've already accomplished, that you have already lived through. You can also do a vision board with this. I like to, not really a vision board, but I like to use the trifold boards and make these. I have several different boards that just, I'm a very visual person, so that speaks to me. And I have one like this that shows pictures of me doing difficult things. I have one where I'm, shooting big guns, right? I've shot an elephant gun that like knocked me on my butt. That was difficult. It just shows like images that will remind you of your strength, of the things that you've already done. I have pictures of me in the military, when I graduated from boot camp, or things that I've heard people say, oh, I could never do that, or things that maybe at a time I didn't know that I could do, or I didn't believe that I could do, having done them, right? Graduating from certain things, or I have a picture of me, full term pregnant with my son, of like, wow, like look at what you've done. You grew a human being inside of you. Like that's amazing. Different things that I've accomplished when I was, on the 10K stage, or different things. So really looking back and gathering all of that for you to be able to see in a way that speaks to you. If you're a visual person, I love the board with the pictures. If you're more of someone who likes to write and read and journal, having a journal for that, whatever speaks to you. But often and intentionally looking back on what you've already done, how far you've already come, that really helps you to build your confidence in what you are capable of, right? Some other pictures I have, multiple deployments that we've already gotten through, right? My husband's in the military. He's deployed right now. It's hard. It's very hard. And he's only been gone a little over a month. And sometimes I can think about the 5 more months that I have to do, and it feels daunting and it feels hard. But on that same board, I have multiple pictures of homecoming during after other deployments, right? The homecoming picture, where he came back, and there's a picture of us together. That helps me to remember, look at all the times you've already done this. It's not something that you can't do. You've already done it many times. You can do it again. So it's this reminder, this visual or tangible reminder of what you've already done, because sometimes our mind likes to lie to us and say that we can't do something, or that we're not strong enough, or that I just can't do it. Yeah, you can. And to gather that evidence that yes, you can, based on what you've already done, in your life, can help you to feel confident and anchor into your strength. Great. The next point, a tangible, practical thing that you can do to have more confidence, is to separate the outcome from your confidence. So, what do I mean by that? Not tethering together how confident you are based on what outcome you get. So, if you're in this program, you probably have your own business, which means you have to do sales. Okay? So, this is just a great example that we can probably all relate to. Are you attaching your level of confidence with how many sales you make? Do you feel really confident when you make a lot of sales and then your confidence plummets when you don't make a lot of sales? Are they tied together? And I want to encourage you to not tie them together, to separate outcome from your confidence. And that goes with many different things, and I'll elaborate. So attach confidence to the fact that you're behaving in a way that you know will produce success. Have that be what you anchor your confidence to. Give yourself credit. Listen to the right things. Read the right things. Work on your identity. Remember, I said this in a previous module that your net worth is directly tied to your self-worth. So work on that, right? Make that be what you anchor success to or your confidence to. Are you doing that? Are you behaving in a way that you know will produce success? If so, be confident in that. You don't have control over whether or not a potential client says yes, whether or not someone buys your product or not. You can't control that, but you can control what you make that mean. You can control many other things in your life, such as the way you move your body, what you put in your body, what you put in your mind, how you spend your time, what you tell yourself, what your self-talk is, right? There's so many things that you can work on and that you can control, that are in your control. So I want to encourage you not to focus and tie your confidence to the things that you cannot control, like what someone else is going to do or say or believe, okay? You can control who or what you're looking to for strength and peace and relaxation. You can control if you're keeping your eyes fixed on God, your source, whatever that is for you. Are you walking by faith in the moments that you can't see the outcome? Are you in a joyful state? Are you in a grateful state? Separate that from outcome, right? So let's just say, I feel like a very tangible thing for us, because we're all business owners, can be sales, okay? Is my joy connected to my sales rate? Is my gratitude state, the state of gratitude that I'm in, or the state of celebration that I'm in, is that tied to how many clients I get or how much money I make? The outcome? I want to encourage you not to have those tied together, but to separate those, because you can be grateful and joyful and confident, and that does not depend on your circumstances or the outcomes or your goals that you set, especially around sales or money, right? Those can be totally two different things, separate things, and I want to encourage you to separate those. Now, does that mean not having goals or having financial goals or not knowing what your big money goal is? No. I would highly encourage you, you've talked to me before that that's very important, and then I talk about having goals and setting them and having them right in front of you. I have mine right in front of me where I sit every day. You want to have very clear goals. You want to have them where you see them every day, but you're not defined by the outcome of those goals, okay? That's the difference. Are you obsessing over wins or perceived failure? Like I said before, I don't believe in failure. That's not failure, but it's perceived. Are you allowing it to be perceived failure? Because if you are obsessing over wins and failure, you'll have a hollow life. So focus on improving yourself and keeping the promises that you make to yourself and moving in the right direction. Focus on that, and focus on the fact that you get to choose what the level of peace and gratitude and joy is in your life. Awesome. The next point that I want to make is Shifting the way that you perceive yourself. So when we talk about confidence, I feel like we can't skip over this. And it's one of those things, it's not mindset, and it's not spiritual, and it's not like up there in level of, intellectual thinking and talking. But I think it is important when we talk about confidence to talk about body image and self-esteem, like um, self-talk that we have about ourselves, physically, the way that we see ourselves, the way that we perceive ourselves, the way that we perceive our beauty, and self-image. I think it's important to think about, to talk about that, to address that. So I'm going to talk about that in a very practical and tangible way. It's something that I have struggled with, and something that I've done a lot of work around, with coaches and just on my own. And I do feel a passion to help women to see themselves differently, to perceive themselves differently. And I mean that also, like, physically, like just in your own sense of your own beauty and your own image, right? I think that it's important, and it's an important part of, um, and we may think, well, that's not important, and what matters is on the inside, and all of that. And yes, that's true, and it can hold you back, especially in business, especially in building an online business, or in building a business where you have to put yourself out there. If you don't feel good about yourself, it can be a stumbling block. And so I do think that it's worth mentioning. I've struggled with insecurity over my whole life, as almost as far back as I can remember, struggling with insecurity, struggling with the way that I looked. And I talked about that in module 2, I believe it was. And a lot of people don't really, if they don't know my story, maybe don't see that when they look at me. Maybe they don't see, maybe they, like I said in the beginning of this module, maybe they see a confident person, a confident woman, and they wouldn't guess that I've struggled with that, but I have. And it's like any other muscle. You can train the muscle of self-confidence, and I have done a lot of work to train up that muscle. And again, this is not work that you do one time. It's just like any other muscle. You can't go to the gym and get super in shape and toned up and then just never work again and expect those muscles to stay strong. No, you have to continue to work on those muscles. If you stop training, it's going to get weak again. So this is something that I have and do continue to work on. The way that I perceive myself, and being able to, and I'm talking about even just, it sounds silly, but just the tangible, physical, what I perceive when I look in the mirror. Being able to see beauty when I look in the mirror. And what am I choosing? Am I tearing myself apart when I look in the mirror? Or am I choosing to see, and we'll talk about that, but it can be just that. It can be, when you look in the mirror, are you just constantly tearing yourself apart, nitpicking at all of the things that just aren't perfect, or not sitting where they used to sit, or the wrinkles, or the sagging, or the extra pounds, or whatever? I know for me it can be easy to focus on those things of, like, oh my gosh, I'm getting older, like my skin and my, and all of that. And I don't weigh what I weighed last year, and all of these things. And it's a choice, and there is work to be done around being able to shift the way that you perceive yourself, and being able to see beauty when you look in the mirror, and being able to look in the mirror, and when I catch myself maybe saying, oh my gosh, like, look at right here or right there, and to catch myself and just to thank my body, to be in gratitude for the body that I have, that allows me to walk and to do my work in the world, and to be a mom, and to, that allowed me to grow my son, and, to thank my body that I'm healthy, and that I'm able to live my life every day, and what a blessing that is, and how many people aren't able to do that, and just to walk around with ease. How many people aren't able to do that, or to breathe, or to have all their limbs, or be alive, and to shift that inner, what the mind is telling you about yourself. I think it's so important, and it does play a part in your confidence going into the world and putting your message out into the world. It does make a difference when you do the work to love yourself at every phase of wherever you're at in your body and your, everything, to be able to love yourself. It does make a difference in your ability to do your work in the world and to have a successful business, which I know is what you want. Great. So again, what are the voices that I'm listening to? We talked about this in earlier modules. What are the voices that I'm listening to? Where is my focus? Am I focusing on what God thinks of me and how he's moving in my life? For me, it's focusing on, I feel God moving in my life. I know that I'm doing okay. I know that I'm on the right track. I know that I'm supported. I know that God loves me. I know that the more that I anchored into the fact that he created me the way that I am, he created me exactly the way that I am, the way that I look, the more I was able to appreciate the way that I look instead of hating the way that I looked, right? So I want to encourage you to do that work because it's not trivial. I know it might sound trivial, and I even feel a little trivial talking about it, but it's not trivial because it does affect so many other areas in your life when you hate when you see what you see in the mirror or are in a pattern of self-criticism and tearing yourself down. A few tangible, really practical things and exercises that I've done with a coach that really helped me through a lot of this body image stuff. He explained to me, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this in a previous module. If I did, I have faith that you'll hear something a little bit different this time. But he shared with me a couple of just little things that were just like ahas to me that I want to share with you about body image. So one of the things that he told me was that even if you never change a single thing, you're a 10 to someone. Everyone, no matter who you are, you're a 10 to someone. You're someone's perfect someone, no matter who you are. And I thought that was such a beautiful thing to think about and it's so true if you think about everybody in the world and who they're married to and who they're with, who their partners are. And everyone's different. And there are probably most people that you wouldn't choose to be married to, but they probably are, they might be happily married with someone who just adores them the way that your partner adores you and you adore your partner, right? We're all different. So I love that he said that. He said, if you never changed anything about yourself, you're a 10. You're someone's 10. You're someone's perfect person. And I loved that. That was it. That was an aha for me. And he said, and you'll never be everyone's 10. And I loved that too because I could recognize that there were so many times in my life where I was so concerned about just wanting to be everyone's 10, right? Like just wanting to there are many reasons maybe, but for me, why did I want to be thinner? Why did I want to be, you know what I mean? And thankfully over the years, that shifted more to just wanting to be healthy, but I would be lying if I said that at every time in my life when I wanted to be thinner, it was because I wanted to be healthier. No, there were a lot of times I just wanted to be, I tied so much of that to my identity, to being, what society, to me, the what I was taking away from the things that I was seeing and absorbing from society was, well, this is what you need to look like to be beautiful. This is what you need to look like to be loved. This is what you need to look like to have value and worth, right? That's why I was doing it. So, and to be able to know that no matter what I did, no matter how skinny I was, or there are some people who don't want skinny, right? So like I loved that he helped me to see that at any point you're a 10. You're someone's 10. And you will never be everyone's 10. The power that had for me was letting go of even the thought of even wanting to try to be everybody's 10. I just was able to let that go, and that was really freeing to know that I only have to be a 10 really for me. and what I believe that that is, right? The being my best self. Um, you know, and that my husband thinks I'm a 10 and loves me the way that I am, the way that I am, right? And not even for the way that I look. And so that was really powerful for me because I really struggled with this, you guys. I really struggled with body image and a sense of beauty and what I was making that mean, which to me was identity and worth and value and lovability and oh my gosh, it was so skewed, so skewed. None of that's right, none of that's true, okay? But that's where I was at. And just some of these little things were big ahas for me, and I want to share them. So one of the other things that he told me, which was a little aha for me, was he said, think about, he asked me what my dream car was. And at the time, it was, this Lexus. And he told me what his was. And he said, let's just imagine another person that's totally different from us. And maybe they want like a souped up truck or a super expensive motorcycle. Okay, let's just say, for example. And to know that all three of those are our dream car, right? Vehicle. But the truth is that none of those are the end all be all of what's best. It's perception. It's what we like. It's what we want, right? I didn't want the car he liked, and I certainly don't want a motorcycle or something that someone else would want, you know? And that's how beauty is, that it's not one thing, which is what I really had internalized, that beauty was one thing. It was tall, blonde hair, blue eyes, big boobs. That was what beauty was to me for so many years in my mind, which of course wreaked a lot of havoc in my self-esteem because I will never be tall. I'll never be white and blonde with blue eyes. That's never going to be me, okay? And I got the boobs, and it still didn't fix my self-esteem, and it didn't fix me loving myself. And so really seeing that I needed to, first of all, recognize that that's what I was doing, that I had this one image in my mind that I was constantly comparing myself to and constantly telling myself that I would never be, so I would never be good enough, I'd never be beautiful, and I had to realize that. And then I had to decide, I had to reprogram that is just so not true. And I know it sounds so obvious, duh, Christina, but in your subconscious, so many things just don't make sense, you guys, that we believe for years. I believed that, I felt that. And not consciously, but subconsciously, like inside. When I saw a woman who fit that image, subconsciously, I felt inadequate. I felt like I wasn't as good. Realizing if there are some of those images that you're carrying, this is what beautiful looks like. Maybe it's not even beautiful. Maybe it's this is what success looks like. This is what a good mom looks like. This is what a good wife looks like. This is what a good Christian woman looks like. Any of those images, they're not true because there's not just one image of success or beauty or what it looks like to be a good mom or a good wife. You have to define that for yourself. And that was a big aha for me, realizing that, wow, I get to define that for myself. And I get to choose to be my own unique kind of beauty and to start to see myself as beautiful. And also that someone else's beauty didn't take away from my own. Just because a woman who was tall with blue eyes and blonde hair is beautiful doesn't mean that means that I'm not beautiful because I don't look like her. That was a big shift too. Same if we're talking about success or being a mom or being a wife or whatever. Just because someone else is X, Y, or Z, beautiful, successful, good wife, doesn't mean that if yours looks different, you're not. Does that make sense? That was a big aha for me, to be able to redefine what it looked like for me, and then to know that there were millions of different images of what those things look like. that it's not because yours is this, mine isn't. That someone else's beauty or someone else's success or someone else's amazing marriage doesn't take away from mine just because it looks different. That was a big aha for me. And that really helped me to anchor into my own unique beauty and to start to see beauty in the mirror, even though I wasn't, my eyes hadn't changed and I hadn't grown, but I was able to start to see beauty in the mirror. When I looked at myself, I'm able to see success in my marriage, even though it doesn't look like maybe someone else's marriage that I admire. I'm able to see success in my life, even though maybe it doesn't look like someone else's success. Okay, so I really want to encourage you to realize that there's not just one image of any of those things. To create your own, and then to know that no one else's image takes away from yours. Okay? I hope that makes sense. All right, and then the very last point I want to share with you for this module is to embody your highest version. And I know I've talked about this before, but this is one of the most crucial things in just mindset and success and everything. Embodying your highest version. How are you showing up in the world? Who are you being is so much greater than anything. Is who are you being? Who are you showing up as? And is it what your highest version would be doing, right? That goes for how are you dressing, all of that. So when you talk about wanting more confidence, think about what does the most confident version of you look like? How does she dress? What's her makeup look like? How does she smell? How does she walk? How does she carry herself? How does she speak? What does she listen to? Who does she hang out with? All of these things, and so much of that you can embody today. Some things you may not be able to do, some things will come in the future, but most you can embody today. So that might be dressing a certain way, looking at your wardrobe, looking at your closet. I remember last year my coach telling me that, and one of the very first things that I thought was, well, I don't have the money to buy different clothes, right? But buying and investing, it was a business investment, investing in clothes that made me feel like $1 million helped me to make money. I'm telling you, it did, because it helped me to feel like my highest version. And she is awesome. She gets things done. She signs high-end clients. She's on fire. But if I don't act as her and dress as her and show up as her, and I'm operating from a lower version of myself, a lower level version of myself, I'm not going to have her results. So it's important. Things like, what are you wearing? And it's not trivial. So I want to encourage you, and I know because I had the same reaction back then. This was before I signed a bunch of clients, and I hadn't, I wasn't in a place where I just had all of the money. I'm still not. Who's in the place to just feel like they have all the money in the world to spend? But it was like, oh no, I can't do that right now. I have clothes. I'll make it work for now, maybe one day. But I'm telling you, I dropped a couple of $1,000s on nice clothes. I'm telling you, it made a difference. It made a difference in who I was showing up as. Same when I put my makeup on in the morning. It changes who I show up as. Not because I don't think that I'm beautiful without makeup. It just is something external that helps me to dial up my inner power. It's something that helps me to remember how powerful I am, and to my highest version, that my soul version. It just helps me. And for you, that might not be makeup. It might be wearing glasses. It might be the way you do your hair. It might be, what you're listening to. It could be a million different things, but I want to encourage you to think about the highest version of yourself, the most confident version of yourself. Who is she? What does she look like? What does she think? What is she believing about herself? And embody her. And if you have to act sometimes like you're her, then act like her. Now, there's a difference between acting and pretending to be her. There's a difference. Act as her means that you know that you are her. You just might not be feeling it in the moment. So you're going to borrow from her, you're going to borrow resources from her, and you're going to act as her until you feel like, I'm not acting, this is me. And pretending is like you don't really believe that's you, but you're trying to pretend it is. Big energetic difference. You are her. Okay? When you can see that highest version of yourself, you are her. You're acting you're borrowing from her strength, you're borrowing from her confidence in times where you don't feel it. But the more that you do that, the less you have to act. The more it just becomes a part of who you are, who you operate from, who you show up in the world as every day. Awesome, awesome, awesome. That concludes Module 7. I hope that that was super valuable for you. I would love to share your comments in the group. I would love to hear what you thought about it and how it helped you. So I will see you in Module 8.